Who are some chefs that you look to that you feel like embody that ethos? Because there are so many, as we know, who are like, must follow these hard and strict lines. And if you do this, it's the most horrifying thing in the world. But I mean, Anthony Bourdain would be the obvious, you
Right.
like what you like. But are there people who sort of shape that ethos, or is that just comes to you naturally?
Chefs. I mean, I maybe some other cookbook, my
Hmm.
I love like Samin Nosrat's Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. Like I think she has a sort of really empowering voice, like something that makes you feel like you can go and do it. And also a very sort of, gentle voice where it's like, you don't have to do it this way. You can do it this way. Here's like a delicious way to get to an end result, but you don't, you kind of work with what you got. I tend to gravitate towards people who have that sort of mentality. So, I mean, Nosrat. I love Deborah Krasner, who is an old friend of mine. She's wrote a book called The Flavors of Olive Oil, and she also wrote a book called Good Meat. She has a farm up in Vermont, and she's sort of an old friend of mine who kind of guided me very early on in my writing career and introduced me to some great people. Yeah, I like it when cooks make home cooks feel like they can do something instead of like it's like you look at a Thomas Keller book and it's like, what am I supposed to do with this? It's like
Look at the
I'm not gonna blanch
pictures.
feel. Yeah, look at the pictures. It's sort of aspirational. It's like you look at it and maybe you're gonna make it, but even if you follow the instructions perfectly, you're not going to get the same results because you don't have years of Michelin star restaurant experience, more like a sous chef breathing down the back of your neck while you're clarifying your stock. So yeah, I like a kinder, more empowering approach to cookbook writing and instruction.
Well, I mean, what my daughter is an aspiring chef, and she's
How old is
11
she?
and 11. And we have the food lab on our coffee table. It's our coffee table book,
Oh, cool.
and we go through it a lot. And what I find really lovely about it is that you can get into you can get as dorky as you want to get
Right.
with like the how to, but there's also, you can just dip in and out. And I find it very exciting that way. Like it feels to me like a book I'll sit down with and read
Hmm.
and also uses reference.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that. The goal of that book. So that book has some pretty complicated recipes and things that seem like they're very prescriptive. Like you have to follow these instructions. Like there's like, I don't know, a chili with like whatever 37, 40 ingredients in or something. But my goal with the book was that my hope with it was that if you read the sort of longer form articles and introductions to those recipes, you kind of understand what each step is for, and then you can kind of pick and choose what's important to you, you know, uh, so that the goal was really to try and help people not have to follow recipes as much. And that's an approach I take now, sort of with my videos, where I'm generally just cooking at home, and it's usually something I'm going to feed my kids, and I'm not following a recipe. I might say, like this is roughly based on a recipe from the Food Lab or from Serious Eats or whatever, but these are the changes I'm making because I have this in my fridge right now, or like I don't have 2 hours, I only have half an hour. And so, the goal with those videos is to kind of show people how once you sort of internalize those techniques and those lessons, that you can then improvise more easily. It's like if you're a musician and you practice your scales and you practice your jazz riffs or whatever, and you get them in your fingers. Once they're in your fingers and they're sort of second nature to you, then you can play any kind of music, or you can improvise over anything. But that's hopefully the goal, and that's sort of what my new book is really going to focus on more. The one that I'm working on now is going to focus on more.
Does it have a title yet?
It's had a
You don't.
few working titles here and there. Nothing finalized yet,
Okay,
but
TBD.
yeah.